Welcome to the Lucidist podcast, where I explore everything because I believe everything is connected to everything else, and also because I believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. Today, this is my third podcast, specifically about hate, and I have to say it's been incredibly fascinating. A few weeks ago, after my first EMDR session, which I want to say something about EMDR, but I'll do that in a moment. Let's stick to hate for a moment. After my first EMDR session, it was like it wasn't even a flood, a tsunami. Nothing describes it. I mean, it was literally just every sensation, cell, everything was hate. And it was confusing, disorienting, frustrating, many things. And I thought, I'm not going to push this away. I'm not going to pretend it away. I'm going to let this hate be here and be what it is and trust this process. I'm so glad I did. I don't know, maybe it's 3 weeks later. And I had my I guess it must be 4 because it has to be at least 4. I had my 4th EMDR session. And hate came up again in a very different way. And I am just so grateful for hate. So grateful for hate and all it has taught me. And I think I'll probably continue to learn from hate. Before I tell you about this most recent EMDR session, I want to say something about EMDR. So as I mentioned before in a podcast, a few years ago, I had a therapist and she was kind of young and new. Not that that's wrong or bad, but I do think experience goes a long way. And we did some, quote, EMDR sessions. They were not EMDR sessions. And I have to say, I'm actually so grateful that she did not know what she was doing, because if she had, I think she would have unleashed things that not only was she not prepared to handle, but we, as in our relationship as therapist and client, could not have handled it. So my most recent therapist, we have been working for 8 months. We were working for 8 months before we ever began our first EMDR session. And I think that was so important because we worked through not just my issues, but she and I also needed to have a relationship with each other where we had a strong understanding of each other. We had built trust. We had built respect. So when things came up, she understood who I was and what I needed. And I also could convey to her and tell her what I needed and what things would work for me, and also trust her to take me to places that are very painful and are very scary, and that not only would she get me there, but she would get me out. And not only would she get me out, but then she would know how to sort of reset my nervous system. Okay, so what all of that was to say, if you're going to do EMDR, it's not, I say the same thing about any kind of deep work. You have to build the foundation and the structure that can hold it. And I remember saying to my therapist right before, so, as I said, we've been together about 8 months before we started EMDR. Excuse me. And I remember saying to her before we were about to start EMDR, I said, I feel like I could feel in myself that what we had been doing for all those 8 months is that we had been building this really strong foundation and this really strong structure, like the outer framework, the structure. And I said, I needed to do that internally and also with you, so that as we dismantle other inner parts of myself, I have a foundation and a structure that will remain standing, and I will remain standing, and I will be well. So what I want to say is, before you jump in and be like, hey, I'm going to deal with, whatever issues I need to deal with, you need to understand that you need to build a foundation and a structure so that when you dismantle these other parts of yourself, you are well, you are whole, you are healthy, you are not harmed, and do not harm others. Okay. So that's the part I wanted to mention about EMDR. Think carefully before you just dive into things and make sure you take the time to do it well. Okay, so this fourth and most recent EMDR session, so fascinating. The other thing I wanted to say about EMDR that I now understand that I did not understand the first time that my therapist tried it, because she did not understand this, is that one of the most powerful parts about EMDR is that it's like there's a moment that's frozen in time inside the body. And you can see it in your mind, right? There's like this image and you can feel it in the body, and it's like frozen in time. And it's frozen because whatever that was, it doesn't even matter what the experience was, whatever it was, we were unable to deal with it. And so it's like the body and the mind took a snapshot and went, snapshot, check out. So I have to thank my body and my mind. When the nervous system couldn't handle it, it was like, take a snapshot of this and check out. We're going to have to come back to it later when we can deal with it fully. Okay, so now in the EMDR sessions, we go back to these quote unquote pictures, these moments in time where I can see a picture. It's like looking at a photograph. Here is this exact moment in time that I can see and feel in my body as though it is happening in this moment. And we go back to that picture and we stay in that moment, and we stay and we stay and we stay. And we began to uncover and reveal and experience and learn, and all that one photograph, all that's happening in my body in that one moment in time that I could not feel the first time. Okay, so in this last one, we have this certain photograph. It has to do with the rape. We're dealing with all the things that are coming up. Of course, like all this fear, right? And it is, of course, there's all this fear, and then all these other things come up, and we deal with all those. And then as we stay with this snapshot and I continue to experience, all of a sudden, below some of these like more life-saving emotions, I find hate. And I never truly felt hate for the man that raped me, because there were so many overpowering, overlaying, life-saving emotions that I hadn't even yet dealt with. Why is that? Why was that moment so powerful for me? Because I felt like all this hate that I've had sort of like disembodied. It didn't have a quote unquote home, because I didn't realize I had so much hate for the man who raped me. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying this is how I am. And for the first time, I got to experience the moment where I had all this hate for the man that's raping me, in a moment when he is raping me. But I didn't get to experience that hate at that time because there was too much else going on. And there was like a sense of relief when I felt that, because it was like all the hate that I have been feeling and been confused about, not all of it, much of the hate I have been feeling and been confused about, and that sort of felt disembodied and just sort of leaking and spraying everywhere. I realized it didn't have a home, because in the moment when I actually felt all that hate, I was not able to feel it consciously and put it in its proper place, which is in that moment of being raped. I had so much hate for him, but I didn't feel that. I didn't experience that. I didn't consciously know that that was a part of my experience. And so it's like it's just been like this live wire flying and flipping around. And I feel like it's now grounded. And I realize I have so much hate for the man who raped me. I have now felt that hate consciously. And I'm just letting it be. I'm not even trying to make it right or wrong or good or bad. I'm just like, oh, that's actually where so much of the hate I haven't understood belongs, in that moment. And that's been the gift of EMDR, is to put the proper emotions sort of in their proper place, and let them be, let them live, so to speak, because they do live. They did live in my body. They do live in my body. That was an experience I had, but I was not fully conscious of it. So hate has, I haven't really tried to, it's been a couple of days since my last session and this hate came up, and I know we're not supposed to hate anybody, and I don't want to hate anyone, but I'm also haven't felt nothing has pushed me yet or even asked me yet to let go of the hate or not hate or, transform the hate or blah, blah, blah. Like, No, it's just like, oh, it's almost just a place to breathe. It's like, oh, I hate this man for what he did to me. It's almost just like finally, I don't know, these are the words that come, so I'm going to say them. It's almost like finally opening a box that you haven't opened for a long time and just holding whatever's inside. I'm not trying to do anything with it. I'm just going, oh, this is a thing. This is a thing. I believe with time, it's just going to take care of itself. I think hate has a lot more lessons to teach me, so to speak. Happy to learn them, have no issues with it. So that, I just wanted to share that like very powerful moment of sort of allowing hate to have its home, allowing my experience of hate to be honored and respected and live, because it did live in me and it does live in me. And the best thing I can do is let these things that are already alive and well in me live. It's almost like, it's like if you, this is the image that's coming to mind. So there's certain plants that it doesn't matter if you lay plastic down on the ground, they just grow white roots above the ground under the plastic until they finally find that one little, bit of sunlight, and then they start to grow green. And then you pluck it right there, and it's just like, well, I'm just going to grow back, or I'll just find another little spot. And then if you pull the plastic back, you see there's this whole mass of white plant under there. And you've just been worried about plucking this little green stem, thinking that was it. No, like there's this. So I feel like I've pulled back the plastic on something that's alive and well under there, and I just haven't been looking at. And that is the beauty of this, is I didn't know it was even there. EMDR allowed me to slowly sort of get down, pull back the plastic, and go, oh, look, I've been plucking these little green buds of hate, and really there's this whole mass of it. And it's so much of it is tied to this one experience. Anyway, not all of it. So what I want to say about that is not all of it. There have definitely been other lessons that hate has taught me where there's a certain person that I hated, or a certain situation, and I realized so many times, oftentimes, not always, so we're going to do little bits. Oftentimes, it's because something's not right for me in the situation, and I'm not paying attention. I'm trying to be good, instead of just saying, you're hating, part of you is hating this because it isn't right for you. Something's not right about this for you. So I'm finding that hate has been, I'm realizing this part of my barometer that I've misunderstood. Like when I start to really hate someone or something, it's time for me to stop and go, okay, where are you out of balance with yourself in this situation? I know it's not about the person in the situation. It may be that I don't belong in the situation. I don't want to be near this person. Or it may be that I'm giving too much to this person, or I'm giving too much to this situation, or I'm not asking for enough from a situation or a person. There's so many reasons, but hate is now no longer like this disgusting, I can't feel hate. For me, it's now become another part of my barometer system where I go, okay, I'm starting to resent, if you can get to resent before hate. But let's say you miss the resent on the barometer and you just go straight to hate. If I go and I'm hating something, I'm like, okay, let's stop and look at that. What is it that I'm not listening to in myself? And what can I do about that? I have no desire to walk around and just hate people or hate situations or hate life. I do believe I'm so blessed to be here. Doesn't mean I always feel like that, but I can often remind myself, even when I don't feel blessed. And so anyway, that's where I wanted to I don't know when I'll come back to hate again. This might be a while, but I wanted to at least give that, because I think it's fascinating that my first EMDR unleashed all of this hate, and it was so confusing, and I was quite distraught by it. I was like, what is this? And then I didn't show up for the next couple, and then this fourth one, it showed up again, but this time it had a home. A very grounded, experiential home for me to put it. And I'm very appreciative for that. So my hope in this is that you are learning, you are allowing yourself to feel all the feels. And no judge. Not that you might not want to feel that way, but just feel the feels. Maybe begin a conversation with them. Sometimes it's enough just to feel them and be like, wow, that's just, it's enough to feel. After some time, you might be able to be like, I'd like to have a conversation, with myself or with this emotion, whatever, with this feeling, and learn more. What can I learn? I don't believe we are victims to our experience. I also don't believe we're totally in control. I feel like there's a beautiful teeter-totter dance going on there where we have some say, and then there are also many forces at play. So there's my current understanding and takeaway of hate and what it's taught me, and also the power that EMDR is having in my life. I'm so grateful to it for peeling back, diving deep, allowing me to feel and process moments in my life that I haven't been able to. So much love to you all. I hope you have a beautiful day and take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.